Hi everybody, I'm here to talk about horsehair worms inside of ghost shrimps and how I treated my shrimp and what worked for me. And the reason I'm making this video is because I did not find any information beyond kill it. Everyone either said kill it, dispose of it, euthanize it. There was very little information beyond that in all the subreddits and forums and aquatic plant forums that I researched, like fish forum, tank forums, shrimp forums. There was mixed information about what to do as far as treatment, and some people comment sections were like suggesting things like dog deworming medication to throw that into the tank. And at that point I'm like, whoa, everybody hold your horsehair worms. I was like, no. So the most common and agreed upon solution is to isolate the shrimp. What I did is I separated this shrimp. I put it in a mason jar with water from the tank that it came from. I also added a couple of almond leaves for tannins, which I had just coincidentally bought recently. I poured like in a bowl dechlorinated water and threw in a pinch of aquarium salt and mixed it until it got very diluted until the crystals disappeared, and then I scooped 1 cap's worth of that and dumped it into the jar, the mason jar. This is a small jar, as you can see. And so I thought that with some of the stuff that I read, that these worms, they don't like salt. They're freshwater, worms. You find them in freshwater streams or insects, which eventually go to some sort of regular fresh water or like a puddle. So I know that in the past I've had to make hospital tanks for like a beta that I used to have, and it required aquarium salt. So that was in my head, that aquarium salt does something. Secondly, I remember that tannins, although I got them this time for coloring my water, the first time I ever heard about tannins was when one of my betas, or my only beta that I had, started getting like sick after like 2 years. And so I tried everything, and tannins was one of the things that was recommended because it prevents bad kind of bacteria and like fungus, which is infectious, to spread, or it helps at least keep that from happening and the chances of that happening down. So in my head, like, aquarium salt clicked as some sort of like treatment for bad things, let's say, and so did almond leaves and tannins. So that's why I did that. The last thing I did, and again, this is just coming from knowledge that I had, something said also that I should immerse a little pellet of food in water, like a little Dixie cup, and put some magnesium sulfate, which is basically just like pure Epsom salt, which is considered to be a laxative. I also had that knowledge from a previous incident where I had overfed a fish and I thought it was dying, and it was just like bloated and constipated. So I heard that was a laxative and that can help it. So in this case, I was like, well, if this parasite, if this horseworm is somehow inside of the stomach or somewhere in the digestive tract or whatever, this, it can't hurt to add this. If the other option is it's gonna die or to euthanize it, let me at least try everything I can. Now, there are different camps on opinions of what horsehair worms do, and what you should do, and how to treat them, and what happens when they enter the host, and that they're not in the stomach, that they're not in the gastric tract, that they explode out of the anus, and like all this like stuff. And again, it's like all this mixed information. So I tried to just get the general like average opinion out there from like 50 different websites, because I still could not find the definitive answer of what to do to get it to survive, and what to do, more importantly, after, if it does survive. Do you put the shrimp back in the tank? Do you leave it separated? Like, what's going to happen? By the way, what I did with the worm was put it in 99% alcohol, and when I took it out of the jar, and I took that outside, poured it on the pavement, and with a torch lit it on fire until it burned no more. Anyways, in my case, my little guy is on day 4, and she's pregnant, she's happy, and she's alive. So I don't want to leave her in a jar and that be the reason why she dies. So that's the reason why I'm not transferring her yet into the tank. It's not because I'm afraid that she could reinfect the tank. So that's another thing that I've been looking and researching for that I cannot find an answer. So I'm going to go with the logical thing, and what I am seeing and what I am seeing proven and tested right now in my house, in my jar, with a specific previously infected, now alive and cured ghost shrimp, which expelled one of these worms. All I can say is other species, when they have parasites and when they have worms and they get dewormed or they get medication to kill the parasites, such as like maybe like a dog or a cat, once the worm is out, you don't kill the cat, you don't kill the dog. And once the worms are out, it doesn't mean that they can never ever socialize with another dog again, because they're going to always be infected. That's not the case. So I'm going with just like logical thinking here. And I already did a water change on the jar. When I quarantined her on day 1, the day that I found the horsehair worm and I put her in the jar the first day, basically I did a major water change on my main tank when I isolated her and quarantined her and did all those little things that I said. And on day 2, when the worm was out, I changed the water. I put some new fresh water in there. I got a little bit of the water from my tank, which was already like, cleaned and everything, like the second day. And so I took some of that same water and just put it in a jar. After dumping the old water, I transferred her out of the jar real quick into like a little net and in another little cup, and just like put the new water in and then dumped her back in, and then put a little pieces of like java moss and 2 new leaves. And I didn't feed her. I didn't put food in the jar like I did on day 1, because I didn't want to confuse maybe food inside her with something else like a parasite. So I wanted her to be completely clear, and that's when I noticed these little things under her, which apparently are eggs. So she's preggers. After all the research I've done, basically going also with the theory how other worms and other species behave after they're expelled or treated, I don't think there's any risk of her infecting anything else in the tank if I put her back. And I want to give her the best chance to thrive. However, I am conflicted between putting her back into the main tank or not. And it's not because I'm concerned about worms anymore. I am pretty confident that this little trooper has survived, and as you can see with flashing lights through her, on top of her, behind her, she is clear. All you could see is new food that I finally started introducing to her. I think she just deserves to go back into the main community, go back with her friends, and this way I still don't know if she might pass, but I mean, you see she looks very healthy, she's lively, she's eating, she's fanning her eggs, she survived this whole worm thing, so it didn't like kill her and destroy her. And if she survives, which is what I'm thinking is going to happen, I mean, because just look at her, just look at this. I wanted to share this experience before people just go chopping heads off. If you like ghost shrimp and you have ghost shrimp, it's because you enjoy them and you want them around. In half of these forums, some of the people commenting were like, they're only 20 cents. Just fucking flush them down the toilet. That's it. Get her out of there. And it's like, yeah, I understand. Like, they're 20 cents, but they're also living beings. And if you have ghost shrimp, it's because you have a tank, and if you have a tank, you probably have other fish. So you obviously enjoy little living things in there, right? You're not making a valid argument by just saying that they're 20 cents. You're not addressing the problem, which is, what do I do with shrimp that have horsehair? Okay, so 90% of what you'll find out there says isolated. Beyond that, there was very little information, especially about, I did find people asking questions like me, like, can it survive, and what happens if it survives? And I actually saw like 2 or 3 comments in different places where the shrimp survived. but nothing beyond that. Like, what do you do after? So people were asking for these questions. So I'm going to go with my gut. So far, going along with my gut has proven 100% effective. I wanted to share this treatment, and I wanted to just say that this is what I'm going to do. I can probably post an update, but I probably will just answer comments because I'm not doing a lot of videos on this channel. So don't worry about liking it, don't worry about subscribing and all that stuff that every other single YouTuber pressures you to do. It's just cringy at this point. And I hope that you've watched this video without a stupid ad interrupting and totally throwing off everything that you're here for. So thanks for listening, and if you have any more questions or if I come up with anything else that I may have left out, I'll post it in the main description or a pinned comment. Thanks for watching, and I hope this helped.